All right. Welcome, everyone, to the second annual Global Goddess Fest, a virtual festival to inspire, activate, and connect female leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives worldwide. So today, I'm so excited to bring Buttercup here, and she's tuning in from Miami, Florida. And Buttercup is an amazing, amazing leader. We got to meet at an event pretty recently and just immediately loved her vibe. She came in with like this big red fur coat, and I'm just like, yeah, you.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight, baby. All the way. So, and then as I got to know her, I just was like, wow, this woman is amazing and so intriguing and has so much to share. So I'm really excited to bring her here, bring her to all of you, and to activate. So Buttercup, she's the shredded guru. She is just totally like someone that is going to propel you forward, rocket ship you into some epic love. So we're going to be talking about coming into union with your perfect lover for all of eternity, and throwing in some hot, steamy sex as well. Of course, why not? So Buttercup is a 4-time national world champion professional bodybuilder and has spent 5 decades becoming the world expert on health, nutrition, and fitness. And basically starting with her own inner journey of healing herself and then reaching out to hundreds and thousands of other women and men all around the world, helping them with, diseases, addictions, and beyond. So Buttercup, I'm just like, just take it away.
Wow. Well, my passion is to lead you to your eternal lover for all eternity, your perfect lover for all eternity. I'm getting excited as I talk about it. I've done and taught many things throughout my extremely teach. So the one feeling that I wanted to run away from all my life was that of loneliness. My mother always told me, no man will ever love you, you'll always be alone. And as I'm sure so many of you are familiar with that beautiful line from Rumi, the wound is where the light enters. And it's very often our place of weakness that really is highlighting for us where we are designed to stand in our strength. So I feel really honored to be a leader on this magnificent journey. Twin Flames is a quite bizarre and absolutely magnificent concept, if I can put it that way. It's been written for the first time here on Earth, got with hot steamy sex thrown in, because it is quite literally the fast track to enlightenment. It's happening right here, right now on Earth. Woohoo! How flipping exciting is that? And but we get to have it all, and so it's about a divine mission more than it is the magnificent romantic aspect that's written about. Meaning, the objective of the union is to bring people, the rest of humanity, home to God, to raise the consciousness of humanity, and the vessel through which I am blessed to carry out my divine mission is via this magnificent union between myself and my beloved twin flame. His name is Patrick, and he's literally the other half of me in an equally sensational body, though I say so myself. So he shares my soul, he shares my blueprint, and he's everything I've ever dreamt of and beyond, because he was co-created by me with God. So it sounds fantastic, and it's happening right here, right now. Far away with your questions, Rae.
So this concept of loneliness, where does this fit in? Because I do believe, and like you were talking about, is kind of overcoming this idea that we're always going to be alone, and actually I think a piece of it is kind of coming to terms of not needing someone else. So can you talk about that, like not needing someone else, being in whole union with yourself, and then how does that come into play?
Absolutely. And if I can just look at it from a bigger perspective, current love relationships really don't fit with our needs or with our wants, with our desires. They don't fit with the level of consciousness that some of us are at currently. And what do I mean by that? Most so-called soulmate relationships are just codependent. And what I mean by that is, I need you so that I don't feel so lonely. I mean, that's in a very simplistic form. But that's really why people hook up. It's why they connect with their so-called soulmate. And again, that's another term that's completely bastardized and not used in an appropriate way. Soulmate's just somebody who's brought into your life from whom you can learn a lesson, from whom you will learn a lesson. And so the concept of twin flame is completely different. The journey to my twin is the journey. There is only one journey. There is only one relationship. And the human experience is to look outside myself. And I certainly went there in various forms, addictions, control, particularly in my case. And what I've come to understand on this exquisite journey is that there is only one relationship, and that's the relationship between myself and God. I don't actually exist, nor do you. Each one of us is an exquisite, magnificent rendition of God. And to bring it down into banal terms, each one of us gets to expand that piece of God that we are. So how does this fit when you bring another human being in, as it were? Well, the human aspect is really only one perspective. And my beloved twin, as I said, is literally just another piece of me. And to come into union with my twin, it requires that I come into union firstly with God, and thereby also with myself. Mm-hmm. So my journey has been, for the first time, very much alone in social terms, meaning that I'm extremely extrovert and outgoing, and the last year has been spent quietly alone at home with God, exploring myself, exploring my wounds, exploring my shadows, exploring the things that I chose to come here to heal. And by coming into union with myself, by loving those parts of myself and inviting God into those parts of myself that I didn't used to love, I've come into union not just with myself, but I've healed the blocks to unconditional love. And those are the blocks which lie between myself and God. And in so doing, necessarily, I come into actually physical union with my beloved counterpart, with my beloved twin. Mm-hmm. So it really is only one journey. And I think lots of people are tapping into the concept that one cannot receive from somebody else that which I cannot give to myself. So to look outside myself for another human being to heal me or fix me in some way, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work on any level. And so the only journey is self-love, which is the same thing as loving God. Because the deeper we explore ourselves, the more we discover, yes, there is a human, I call it humanoid because I don't consider myself to be very human. I've definitely come from another planet, many other planets. And so the journey as I go deeper and deeper inside myself has been to discover that what we as humans perceive to be suffering doesn't exist at all. I call these shitty movies. It's just our perception. And when we see that so-called suffering is just God tapping on my shoulder, I'll speak for myself, saying, could you please let a little more unconditional love, a little more of me into you? then there is only one journey, and that's to experience God in every breath I take, in everything that my eyes glance on.
And can you define, because we have a really large audience here, and all across the world. And one thing that we're really bringing in is diversity. So God can be a major trigger word for a lot of people. So can you define a little bit more?
That's why I love using the word.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I like to say is, since when was God a dirty word? But God has become a dirty word. And so many people like to dilute the word God, and it turns into the universe and the divine and spirit and source. And I'm very blunt, I'm in your face, and I like to call God God because that's who he is to me. But with no disrespect, I also bow to and worship the hundreds of thousands of Hindu deities. I don't personally follow a religion, although I was born into a culturally Jewish family. I'm really exploring the Christ consciousness in myself. So for me, God is unconditional love and is everywhere in everything as I choose to see it. Does that help a little bit? And so when we talk about hundreds of thousands of gods, for example, some say 72,000, there are so many different numbers in Hinduism. These are just beautiful different aspects of God, because God is so multifaceted. I mean, beyond infinitely faceted. And I get to experience God through worship of these deities. And for me, it's very much, I'm just a very visual person. So when I want to bring more compassion into my life, I might pray to Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion and love. And when I want to feel a little fiercer, I might wear my mala with Kali on. It doesn't mean there are many gods, there is only one, just many different aspects.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, thank you so much for defining that. And I think it's interesting, because we're in such a new age of really figuring out how do we utilize these people, personas, gods, deities, and really bring them into our everyday. So I love that. If you need to feel fierce, bring in Kali and utilize and get begin your relationships with each and every one of them, because they each have something to share with us. And so when we're talking about God, spirit, these deities, how do they play a role in finding this twin flame?
Really, my advice to people is go in the direction in which you're drawn. Mm-hmm. You think you might just have a hunch or an idea, you might like a picture or a statue. It's really just an angel speaking to you. It's in my terminology, it's just God speaking to you. So I'll give you an example, and I'd like to clear up actually one of the misconceptions about twin flames. And one of the misconceptions is that there is a divine masculine and a divine feminine, and I might represent the divine feminine in a female body, and my counterpart might represent the divine masculine, whereas reality is that everything is driven and created by polar opposites. And it has taken me to come into union between the masculine in me and the feminine in me, to come into this place of wholeness in order to then manifest my physical union with my beloved counterpart. Mm-hmm. And so one of the images which came to me, for example, just a few weeks ago, I just was drawn to Archangel Metatron. And I didn't quite know why. And then I started doing meditations and looking at symbols. And I can't really go in our short interview here to all the ways in which Metatron has come to nourish me. But I don't feel any of these deities are static or constant. For me, it's an ever evolving relationship with God in his multifaceted forms, mm-hmm. And with the angels that I personally feel all around me in every single moment. Mm-hmm. And we can experience whatever we choose to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if I choose to connect with and see angels, it doesn't make me better or worse than you. It's just a choice that I make, and it's a choice that's equally available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And would you have like a few steps, you're talking about coming into balance with your feminine and masculine, and this has definitely been a big journey for me as well. And I think a lot of people are feeling that, like, where is this balance point? I don't want to be just like off in the wind and like hanging in my feminine, and yet like I can't keep being in this masculine super linear space. So what would be some like tools or tricks that you could share with our audience to help them find their own balance, and maybe just utilizing, what has helped you come into union with the masculine and feminine within yourself?
Thank you. And I've been predominantly masculine. I've been really living from a masculine mask. I was a extremely successful trial attorney, and I've crushed businesses, and I was always craving for this softer feminine side, this torrent of creativity, which I knew was inside me but couldn't access. And I tried all the traditional routes, self-development, and people go pole dancing and so forth. And personally, that's not, it's a dancing I love. It's an expression of the beauty of the female, but we can't don another mask in order to absorb those qualities. So the most exquisite practice for me has been to merge with the goddesses. And so I have statues of goddesses all over my home. And for me, I'm very visual, I'm very tactile, I'm very much a physical human being. And so to absorb the essence, for example, of Kali, who I wanted to connect with deeply a few months ago, I engaged in a beautiful practice from India, which is to chant her name 108 times, or chant her mantra 108 times. And it sounds like a bizarre concept, but it's incredibly powerful. All we need to do is visualize, and then whatever's meaningful to you. Sound is very meaningful to me. I feel vibration in my body. So to chant the name of a goddess is a way in which I can absorb and then just be her energy.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm very much into ritual, and I taught yoga all over India and all over the world for many, many years, the physical asana. And I was instantly seduced by the power of ritualistic devotion. So those of you who practice yoga may well experience just a sense of great joy as you do something as simple and as profound, if I may say so, as the sun salutations. Because in so doing, I am prostrating. That's the meaning I give it. I am prostrating. And it's that repetitive prostration which feeds my soul. So whatever your practice is, it can be Kundalini, it can be chanting, it can be meditation, it matters not. These are all practices which bring us closer to our own divine essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's such a powerful practice of just getting into the physical aspects, because I think we can think about it and we can feel into everything. I'm feeling more feminine, I'm feeling more masculine, but like then to also bring it into the physical body. And I think you've definitely explored all the range of the physical body. Yeah, I love it.
I have Lakshmi on my left arm and Saraswati on my right, and these were both divinely guided. I grew up in a very traditional, very fancy English home, if you will, and I'm sure my darling parents, who are much more human than I am, are rolling in their grave to know that I have tattoos on my arm. I have a twin sister who says, "No, not the T word."
Oh my goodness. It's so funny. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here and sharing a bit about your magic. And so everyone that's watching, Buttercup is going to be giving a free gift of 5 mistakes to avoid on the twin flame journey. Would you like to speak into that? Just to give them a little...
Yes. And the biggest mistake, typically twins meet somehow, and then typically there's a separation. And our natural instinct as humans is to reach out just as you would in a more traditional codependent relationship. And that does not work amongst twins. The more you reach for your twin, it's like grabbing a slippery fish. You cannot have on the external what you cannot find on the internal. And this is why there's so much written on the internet. I call it voodoo and woo-woo about the twin flame journey, because very few people have achieved, and I would hallucinate, there aren't that many people yet who are able to hold this vibration, both in other realms and in the physical. It requires a lot of finesse, but this is actually the most exciting experience that we're being invited to have right here, right now. And that is to live multidimensionally, to live both in heaven, on earth, and everywhere in between at the same time. And we get to have it all. We get to have the hot, steamy sex with our twin. We get to commune with God, talk to angels, and we're designed, insofar as we're designed to have magnificent love. And there's my twin flame number. I have some magic twin flame numbers, 57 popping up in my time. I have to just say thank you to the angels. But we're designed to have it all: magnificent abundance and love and hot, steamy sex and connection. And that's a concept which is elusive to those in the spiritual world. I had a yoga studio for many years, and there's such a story amongst spiritual teachers that we're not designed to have material abundance, but we're designed to have anything and everything that we ever wanted, all at the same time. This is God's kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I love it. Sprinkling that magic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
God bless you. Bye-bye.